Yay! Hi, friends. It is Mia Mans, owner of Mia Talk and Marketing. I am so excited to have the brilliant branding mindset coaching power of VictoriaDBaylor. Everyone loves Victoria. And that's why she's here to hang out with me today to talk about living in your purpose. There's never been a time where I feel this is more critical, more important as you are mentally going through so many different things, as financially, emotionally, job-wise, just the climate of everything that's going on, to tap into your purpose and who you are here and who you're meant to be. And before we get the show started today, I definitely want to thank each of you for tuning in each week. If you want to catch up on past episodes, all you have to do is head to www.miatalks.com. We did that amazing mental health awareness talk last week with Dr. Blythe and licensed practitioner counselor Giovanna Aikens about mental health. And I'm telling you, if mentally you're like, I need some resources, I need to just have some moments for myself, please watch this talk. I cannot say enough about what they poured into us. But again, you can see old talks at www.miatalks.com. I do want to say a super duper thank you to the David Pence Allstate team, also fantastic my local Savannah business owners, veteran-owned office as well. You've got David Pence, you've got Angela Watson, you've got Tammy Thorough as well. They are always waiting to serve you at 912-961-9617. And super thank you to Tanya and Todd Reed of Henry Plumbing Company for investing in your success. So for any of your plumbing needs, call 912-352-9827 or visit them online at henryplumbingco.com. So lots of likes and hearts for this amazing woman, VictoriaDBaylor, and start filling these comments as we talk about living this. First and foremost, Victoria, let's define what exactly you do and then the scope of services so that for people who are listening and are like, oh, I really need to talk to Victoria. Let's get into your background, please.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. I was joking with Mia off the air that I literally have been stalking her for a few years. That is the truth. She is amazing. So it is a pleasure and honor to be here today with you and everyone else. So what do I do? You know, there's a short answer and then there's a long answer. I'll start with a short answer. In essence, I really help unpack people so that they can better position themselves in business, stand out in business so they can attract the clients, impact, and income they desire. So I am a mindset and brand brilliance coach, and I take two avenues of being able to help people, or especially entrepreneurial women, and I do work with some men. I help them create a strong brand identity so that they can establish their brand expertise, stand out in their market, and be top of mind. I use a very holistic approach to make that happen. So step one is I unpack people. I'm able to, what I love to do is pinpoint everyone's unique brilliance. So everyone is uniquely gifted in their own capacity. So my job is helping to unpack that and infuse that in their business and to actually help shift the mindset blocks that keep them from seeing their own brilliance, their talents, their gifts, their abilities, their experience. How do you bring that all together to create a strong brand identity? And then that's step one. And then step two is actually being able to market that. So how do you market that so that you're actually positioning yourself in a place where you solve a problem and you are invaluable to someone or someone's, you can build a strong business foundation from there. So that's what I do. And I do that in several forms. I do one-on-one coaching with clients. I absolutely love it. I work with some amazing people, from politicians to entrepreneurs to professors. I work with people that are scared or a little bit stuck. They don't know where to go. They don't know what's next for them. They know they're meant for more, but they don't know exactly how to tap into that. Or they feel like they are, there's just too many gremlins in their ears. They can't move past a lot of their own mental blocks. So I do coaching. I'm also a TEDx speaker, so I love to speak on the topics of mindset and branding. So I talk to all kinds of organizations, from charities to churches, business organizations, on that topic. And I also do group coaching and some other services as well. But everything's under the unique umbrella of branding and mindset work. And as I tell people, I can't do a lot of things. So if you need me to plant a garden for you, that is a no. If you need me to paint your walls, I am horrible at that. But if it is speaking, teaching, and coaching in my lane, I am absolutely brilliant. And my job is to show other people their brilliance, so they know that they can build a niche specific for themselves.
So there's so many questions I want to go after here, like unpacking people, because boy, oh boy, the lifeblood of doing that. We've already got people in the comments. We were talking about living on purpose. I'm really glad that you defined your and mindset coaching, because obviously I work in the marketing and branding perspective as well, but that has everything to do with business and business development and marketing and business strategy. So I think what's really cool when we planned this talk was like, it's not just a business that's a brand, or like a Nike that's a brand, but there's also like your life, right? Like the brand of who you are. So when you're sitting here and you're watching and you're like, I've been through all this stuff, I'm going through all this stuff, I'm going through, financial loss or job loss or racial trauma right now. And I say this because, you and I had a conversation right after the decision about Breonna Taylor came out. And I was so lost. Like I had nothing to say. I couldn't get on social media. I couldn't understand, like, having had a chance at life and not being here and going back, being older, right? And going like, my God, if I talk to anybody in their 20s. And so I want to hold space for purpose is not something that you can find in a book. Somebody else can't tell you your purpose. It's like you feel it, like in your heart, like your gut, like it's like that thing that keeps you up at night. It's that thing that might make you mad. It's the thing that you always want to get out and fight or advocate for. It could be my purpose and my calling is to be at home and raise my children. My purpose and my calling is to make dynamic art. It's something that you feel. So I'm super excited, Victoria, that we can turn this inward for a second so people can really look within themselves and start to go, I never tell anybody about this, but I feel this way. So when you say unpacking, how do I unpack myself off of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and actually go in to even get into who I'm meant to be?
Well, you said it from the start. So yes, there's a difference. People think branding, they think visual, but they forget personal branding has to do with the person. And what I'm here to share, and what's sometimes a little less known, is that you are actually your greatest asset. So especially when people get into business and things like that, they tend to hold on to a product or service, and they're like, okay, if I promote this is going to make me great. And then they get out there and they realize 1,000 people have the same thing. So how personal branding is really important is that it points toward what's in you, because believe it or not, that is the only thing that differentiates you from any other person on the planet. I always like to say is God gave everyone a unique fingerprint. It's 7.5 billion people. So when you're looking at what's inside, that's where the magic starts happening. But as we know that oftentimes we're pushed and forced to think outside of ourselves. To your point, Mia, you're right. People look on Instagram, they look at all these places and they see people and then they see what they don't have. My job is getting you to focus on what you do have, because you're not meant to have what anybody else has. So when you start talking about unpacking someone or who am I, that is the question that actually oftentimes gets missed and glossed over for decades at a time in someone's life. My TEDx talk was on you are who you are, not what you do, because there's always a temptation to look at the roles we play. And I think as women, we end up falling into roles quicker than we fall into self-identifying. So we end up taking these roles and attaching our worth to them. And then when those roles disappear, like the kids leave home from college and things like that, we have no idea of who we are. So unpacking people for me is getting beneath the surface, helping people understand, why do you think the way you think? What are your passions? What are your experiences? What is your personality type? What unique strengths do you have that no one else has on the planet? And what can you do in a way that's so unique to you? And what's crazy about this, and I guess if I had to give an analogy, so I think my philosophy on purpose is that God packages all of us with a unique purpose. I kind of like to equate that to a puzzle. You know, I always hated those 1,000 piece puzzles because that's a lot of pieces. But could you imagine putting that puzzle piece together without the box, without the picture? That is a representation of life. And that's why it's so difficult for people to figure out who they are. So the unpacking part is someone like me comes in with my expertise, and I can see the pieces, and I can help you see the pieces, and I can help you see how the pieces fit together. And then when that picture starts forming of who you are and what you represent, and when you ignite that fire in a woman and a man, and they start really getting to understand, like, oh my gosh, this is really what I'm about, and this is really what has always captivated me. And then this is the direction. I've been working the wrong job for 10, 20, 30 years. When you start focusing them in a different direction, that's when their life starts to really, really take hold, and they really start to see the value they possess. It reminds me of Einstein's comment. He said that, there's 10 types of intelligence. So I kind of hate school. You know, I was a high function, like straight A student, but I hate school in the sense that school only targets your verbal and your mathematical abilities. There are like 8 other types of intelligence. Everybody is like brilliant.
You just freed a bunch of people. You freed quite a few people. You freed the empty nesters who are like, I don't know what to do now that my kid's not. I just like my kid's not there. Now I have to deal with my spouse without the kid there. I don't know what to do. My kid's been my entire life. You freed the people who were like, I don't like school either, but nobody ever said it. So I was always ashamed to admit that I didn't like school. I mean, I can be honest with you. I talked all the time. Like that was always my report card. You talk all the time. It's effective.
That's a gift though. What's crazy. And the gifts are, I love when I work with
like that in school.
Well, it doesn't. And that's a whole nother subject, because that kind of starts part of my life. This formula that it's the good girl formula. You follow the formula, your life is supposed to turn out.
Go there. I
can tell you all about that formula. So I mean,
always good bean. Do this the perfect right way. Perfect this. It's not real. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry, Victoria.
No, it is so not real. And I will divert to that. And, my point about the education is that it is sad, because the gifts, oh my God, and that's why I love working with people. And I salivate at the bit, because I have a unique sensitivity where I can feel people's gifts. And it's like, oh my God, you were like amazing. But people don't realize there's all these other types of intelligence. And I think Einstein said it best. Einstein said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll spend its entire life thinking it's an idiot. It's in a wrong environment. So half the time my clients, I'm like, look, you were in the wrong environment. You got the gifts. That's why it's not working. So we put them in the right environment, and we see that they are some strong swimmers. But going back to this ideology of following the rules, and I think maybe for me being young and kind of how I'm wired, I was always one of those people where, okay, but I didn't do it like I made the grades, and it wasn't my parents, nothing like that. I was always driven by 2 words: what if. My what if factor was strong. It was like, what if I do good on this? Man, where can it take me? What if? The reason I'm mentioning that is at some point in my life, that what if changed. It was not hopeful. It went to a place of, what if I fail? What if I say the wrong thing and I look stupid? What if I'm going to look like an idiot in front of everybody else? So it's amazing how oftentimes in our childhood, we're at the purest forms. We start to see it when we start getting hit with the battles of life, that things start to change, and we change. And without a sure sense of your identity, you will fall apart. So I was one of those fortunate people at the age, I work, of course, in coaching. This is my purpose now. Like, I know that without a shadow of a doubt from God. But the theme of my life has always been the same. I've always been interested in what happens beneath the surface. So that holds true for people. But in my earlier career, when I was 8, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And it was for that reason. I love what happened beneath the surface of the ocean. So you can see that you can be in different fields, but there's a theme that runs through your life that's the same. And if you don't know what that is, you don't know how to route your life like a ship and navigate sometimes the tough waters. Well, needless to say, I was very successful. 8, I was serious about that thing, Mia. I ran for it. Girl, I graduated high school. Went and got a degree in marine biology, ended up working at my local oceanographic institute for 15 years doing microbial research. It was amazing, man. We were in Alaska, we were in Belize, we were traveling all over the world giving scientific talks. My point is this: there was a dream, There was a lot of hopefulness. There was a formula. But what I came to figure out is that formula did not work without identity. Because again, you can get into a role and identify yourself with a role and lose who you are as a person. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I got into the role, I got good at doing a thing and performing. Oh, you feel like you got to say something, please.
So I want to know how we should be seeking our identity, because personally, I think that people could give me a lot of titles, but I look at my identity very differently than probably most people who even know me think. I measure faith, family, my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my friends, how I'm showing up, and honestly, add to that my relationship with myself, like how I'm feeling about the decisions I'm making, what I'm doing, how I'm living, the type of energy that I'm putting out into the world. And so I don't really look at my identity as any of the public things. Like I don't see myself that way. And I recognize, no matter if people are saying good or bad things to you, what if that changed tomorrow? You still have to like sit in yourself and be at peace with yourself. So like, that's how I personally handle my like identity. I don't define it through a career path. Younger, I might have, because I still have a lot of ambition, but it's different. And I also think that a lot of times we carry a lot of pressure and weight, not just for ourselves, but for the expectations. And then when you're walking through doors and you're being a trailblazer and you're doing a lot of things, you're carrying a level of weight, which it is responsibility, right? But also you're carrying, it could be that somebody said you sucked when you were 7, and now you're like, I'm never going to suck again in life, right? Or I failed terribly, so now I can't fail now, because if I fail now, then I'm going to be anxious. It's going to mess up everything. So like, how do we get into really defining our identity for ourselves, Victoria?
Well, see, that's the loaded question, because you're absolutely right. And that was, again, my failure in my youth, thinking that to become something was identity. And no one teaches you that in school, though. They don't teach you that what true identity is. And you pretty much said it. It really is taking the time to turn inward and to fully unpack oneself. And I like to take it even further than that, to fully unpack and to fully be at peace with what you find out about who you are and to walk confidently in it. So we're looking at everything from the scope of the things that you like to do to your, again, I can't stress, it's not strength. I always like to I use the word genius, but it used to scare people. So I say brilliance now. But there literally is a level of performance or capability that you have that is phenomenal. I always say, I like to equate it. People look at ants every day and they don't realize that ants can lift, I think, 500 times their weight. And it doesn't seem really impressive. I mean, it was impressive when you think about it. But I always said that if I could have a conversation with an ant, the first thing I would do is ask, I wonder if the ant knows how strong it is. And I think for us as people, we are constantly showcasing a part of our identity, do our unique capabilities every day, but we don't see it. So being able to turn our inward and actually see and own those unique abilities, those talents, own the experiences in life. I think that quite honestly, there's this golden thread, I like to say, that just runs throughout everyone's life. You've literally been actually stepping in and using part of your purpose the whole time. You just didn't know what it is. It's funny, I always joke, I was always coaching because people always grabbed me when I was younger. They were always asking advice. I didn't know why. I was like, okay, well, I just gave you advice. So it's always like a part of you that's just there. So really being able to, if you're talking about identity, let me put it in this analogy, to really build up a sense of self, you have to unpack your tools. So if you think about, we all are kind of equipped with a tool bag, and you pull out tool by tool. This is what I have. Okay, this is who I am. Oh, this is my passion of my heart. When you responded to me about Brianna, I was not shocked, because I know for you, I could feel
I couldn't
that.
do anything. I was paralyzed. I was paralyzed, and I was crying, and I was unhurt. That I think, there's a collective hurt, which if you followed this show or you've listened to other guests on this show, there is a collective hurt
Yeah.
that is affecting all of us right now. And all I can do is be honest about that, right? Like that's let me say this. And as you talk about tips to unpack our identity, the best thing I can do is be honest with myself about what I'm feeling, what I need, right? And that might be, I can't social media today. Like I can't give it to you. I can't fake it. I just need a minute.
Yeah, it really is about knowing how you're wired. I tell people all the time, like it took me about 10 years to finally watch Amistad. Like I know how I'm wired. I still haven't watched Schindler's List. Like I know the depth of what I feel, and I know the depth of my anger, like the righteous anger. So like there's certain things I can't watch. Even when George Floyd, I could not watch that video. Like that would change a part of me.
I've not
like,
watched it in its entirety. It's too traumatic. Yeah, and I worry about all the
Yeah, and we're all, and I think that's the point. The thing is this, we all have our own unique instincts, abilities, and it really is, I mean, I hate to complicate this, but it really is hard to unpack oneself entirely. It can be. That's why you have to rely on other people that are skilled in that. I usually talk to people, my clients are like, I'm so good at helping everybody understand themselves. Why not me? And I asked a simple question. I said, it's really simple. Tell me what's on your back right this minute. I mean, if you can look at
pause. Woo! That's so good. Tell us what's on your back right now. So as y'all are showing all this love in the comments, thank you, Bunny. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, everyone that's watching. Just write that down. What is on my back right now? Now, I know some of y'all that are watching, so I already know instinctively what is on your back. The entire city, all the events, you name it. You're running a business. You're trying to keep business owners keeping their doors open. You're a mama. You're a grandmama. You're trying to take care of your sick parents that have been going through stuff. What is on your back? You're sick. You're going through different things.
You know, it's funny. Well, you just showed your brilliance because you interpreted my statement a lot different than actually. I love when people are brilliant. That's so awesome. Actually, I had never thought of it that way. I was referring to it kind of in the natural sense, like you can't see behind yourself. Therefore, there's a blind spot to seeing your gifts. But however, Miss Brilliant, that actually brings up a really unique ideology of there is that aspect of it too. There's oh my God, I think you segued into my next part. What really prevents a woman from seeing anything is all that. I'm telling you, you almost have to chloroform a woman to get away from her normal activities. It's like she thinks the entire world's going to fall apart. And I get it. To some essence, maybe it does. You know, you're a caretaker, your parent. But when you get a woman to commit to spending time to answer that one question, who am I? What do I want? It's two of the great. If you can answer those questions, it will change the direction of your life. But because of, and I love that you mentioned that, Mia, the way you did, there is so much on a lot of women's backs. We don't know how to release the load enough and to see the importance enough in ourselves to know that by answering that question, we are going to tap into the greatest vicinity, the greatest capabilities that we will even get to know and have the greatest sense of self-gratification. And again, it's so hard to get women to pull away from that. So it's almost like the best of you is waiting on the other side of you. Like, are you willing to take that journey? And this is going to have to be a commitment that women are willing to make to themselves to say, I'm going to honor myself. I'm going to honor myself enough to either work with someone, connect with someone that's going to help me see myself, because I have a natural blind spot. I won't see my gifts. And I'm going to be courageous enough to say, I'm going to give myself permission to be able to do what is purposing me to do. And that really does take a lot of bravery.
Okay, I want to unpack this thoughtfully. So the questions are, what's on my back? So that could be my gifts that I'm not seeing, or that could be, as Courtney's response here, obviously right now, leadership of Buy Local as the Buy Local Savannah president, also managing her daughter and making sure that her grandchild is okay as well. We have what's on our back in life, and then we need to ask ourselves, who am I and what do I want? Did I get all of that correctly?
That's correct. I mean, if you're going to experience that greatest transformation in your life of really coming to know who you are and really tapping into your purpose, they're the two most necessary questions. And again, it's really hard to distract women, and myself included. Listen here, I'll tell the truth. I remember years ago, I thought I was Superwoman until I like had a major crash and burn, and I realized like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, the world's gonna still revolve with me, whether I'm in it or not. And that I really need to focus on like my own self-care and making myself that priority so that I can get deeper into and unpacking who I am as a person and getting clear on where it is that I want to go. So it really starts there. And I think going back to kind of my story where I said I made it up to a point where it's this formula and then you realize the formula don't work. And then you just kind of fall apart in confidence because you put all your confidence on a role. And then you realize there's other parts to you. I think at the same time I was running a custom dressmaking business that was very successful and I made gowns. And I really couldn't reconcile like how am I scientist and artist? So all of that was just an identity crisis. It's just what it was. And it wasn't until I allowed myself to fully fall apart and then to fully collect myself and say, hey, I need to make myself a priority. What I'm thinking about who I was is not correct. Obviously, I've been off in my perception of who I am. And then I went on the journey.
Identity crisis. All right, let's normalize an identity crisis. It's not just something that men at 50 have. Everybody has them.
Yes.
You can have multiple identity crises because I want to talk about, Victoria, your purpose can change, right? Like I might feel like I had totally different goals 16, 17. I had different goals at 24 than I do now, right? So identity crisis is okay. Let's just normalize that and give you like, I'm free. I'm struggling right now. It's totally normal. Nothing's wrong with you. You're going to make it. You're going to win. We're letting you know it's total. Oh my God, this thing that I've been doing for forever. I thought this was my career. I just got laid off. I'd like, you could do whatever. My kids just left the house again. You're going through a divorce, right? Because there's all these roles, like you said, that we take on. So go with me though into my purpose can change and that's okay. Talk about that for me.
Well, from a sense of it, so I look at it like this. A book can have several different chapters. It can still be under the same topic. So if you think about purpose in that sense, but I honestly, my philosophy on purpose is that it won't be an extreme change because it's all based on your capabilities. When you start acting outside of the scope of which you're capable, there's a problem. If I pick up a hammer and I'm trying to use it as a wrench, there's a fundamental problem. It's not going to work. So there's a way in which you are packed with all these gifts, abilities, and qualities and all these other things that have to be brought together in such a way so you can understand yourself. So I do believe that there's places and scopes within that you still have yet to untap, to kind of dig and forge into. There's new interests, but all of it kind of still follows a theme. There is a contribution that you are meant to make that, again, is a theme. And under that umbrella, it may showcase differently. Your book is going to be an exciting one. There's different chapters. Confusion is a chapter. Look, I had mine. I'm clear now. But none of us are born with obviously a manual that outlines everything. And believe it or not, I do believe in the struggle, there's the strength. So if you think about just like a butterfly, it goes through a major like life change. It's fat and chubby little worm, and then all of a sudden it's falling apart and all melted down. It's kind of gross actually in the chrysalis. And then it actually, in order to get out of the cocoon, it actually has to fight. I heard once that if you let it out prior to the fight, it actually will die because its wings won't be strong enough. So if you think about if a butterfly has to go through all those transitions, like imagine us. And I think sometimes we're in the middle of that and it can be so confusing. You're absolutely right, me. And it's like, oh my God, I'm having this identity crisis. This is the end of me. And it's not. Your purpose can pop up and then you can get a deeper view of your purpose. I think as long as you're in a sense of self-development, and that's why it's so important to connect with the right people. Again, connect with someone that can unpack it. It becomes clear. And it's like running a race. Instead of trying to run, I was joking with my client the other day. I was like, you're tired because you're trying to run in all 5 lanes. Like, I don't get it. You have one. Like, your lane is perfectly put out there. There's no one else running in it. Run in yours, and then you'll discover things along the way. So I hope that answered your question.
Well, and I think what I like to do is, before we talk about from tragedy to triumph and how I literally was having this conversation before we hopped on this talk about channeling your energy. Like, you get a conscious choice of, no matter what is coming at you or what happens, no matter how horrific, no matter how much it tests your nerves and your patience, how you can channel that energy, that situation to propel you. I want to give an unpack tip, and I want to give how did you get through the superwoman syndrome? Because there's no question, self included, guilty, right? How to unpack, a couple of things I can do to start unpacking tonight when I get off this talk, and then how you began to disrobe that superwoman mask, please.
Oh, okay. I had to dig way back for that one. That was a few years ago. I think essentially, and knowing, it's coming face to face and realizing that perfectionism is a real illness. We'll just call it that. And that for some of us, it might be something you have to deal with lifelong, but you don't have to let it, prevail. So it's just coming terms with, I think, in essence, that the world things are going to be just fine with my best efforts that I put forth. And that it doesn't have to be, as I always tell my clients, when you're that student in class, it doesn't have to be the 120% on the grade. Like, you can be fine with the 92. It's still an A, but without all the pressure. So as far as the superwoman thing, I would really look at your life now and start thinking, okay, what is in my scope of control? And then start dealing with that. Anything outside of the scope of control that you can't, we're talking about people's emotions, how they're handling stuff. I would chop all that, because part of the problem with superwoman is you're not only trying to take on your stuff, you're trying to take on everybody else's stuff. Their emergencies become your emergencies. They're in a crisis. You got to manage their life. There's no need in mowing everyone else's lawn and yours is messed up. So I think the greatest thing I'm coping with.
Oh my God, pause.
Mia, I love your energy.
Do not other people's lawn when your lawn is jacked up and needs your teal. Oh, that's good. Keep going. Sorry to interrupt. That was great.
No, and that's it. Now, one of the greatest, love you, Mia. One of the greatest books I ever read was Boundaries by it's a required reading for my clients. I always recommend it, by Cloud, Dr. Henry, I think Cloud. Anyway, exceptional book. I've always been pretty good with the boundaries, but you always have one or two of them family members that kind of sneak in under your skin. That kind of throw you off kilter. But the point is that there is what you are responsible for. And I think that the peace, oh my God, that reigns. One of the things I actually teach is energy management, because I believe that it's not only just in business, it's in life. A lot of my clients feel like they can decompress, because I think we are handling more than what we need to. And that is exhausting. And I feel for my girl, because trust me, I've been there. It is exhausting. And you are exhausting and you are exhausted. And I compare people to batteries. If you think about a chargeable battery, and I had one client yesterday, and we did, what is your percentage any given day? And when we walked through the steps of it, she was like, I'm at 40%, and I'm not happy about that. So then we started talking about, like, how do you get your energy up? And a lot of that is just knowing who you are as a person. Everything is actually inward. It's a place where we look least. It's a place where we look last. Understanding how you're wired, understanding what ticks you off, understanding what excites you, understanding what makes you feel happy, and giving yourself permission to do those things and elevate. I always joke, I was like, if the phone rings after 8 o'clock, and it's not about even having emotions to it. It's a non-emotional decision. If the phone rings after 8 o'clock, I will simply not answer it. I have voicemail. And it's deciding that we have value, and that your time is valued, your energy is valued. I think the most important thing is when a woman discovers exactly how much value she has, she will pivot in such a way that will make everybody's hair blow. Her prices will go up. The way she carries herself will go up, because she knows she is worth something far superior than what she used to give herself. And I think that is the most empowering thing, because women that walk in their value, they ignite other women to walk in their value. And then that's when you don't have the
I'm
cattiness
crying.
and the anyway. Please wait. Let me. Those ears.
No,
We'll let. Go ahead, preach, Mia.
it's a whole word. We can end this show right here and get everyone free to be her best self for the rest of her life and go, I don't have to answer that email at 10 o'clock. They'll be okay until tomorrow morning. Listen, I need to go to bed because Lord knows I'm tired and I haven't had rest in so many days. And I just need a minute. Oh my God, Victoria, thank you.
You know, it's always, I joke with a client. I'm an analogies person, so that's my creativity. But I was joking with a client. She couldn't kind of get it. She was pounded on and she kind of couldn't see where it was. And I joked with her. I was like, is your mashed potatoes covering the meatloaf? And like, she finally got it. I'm like, look, you know, you got peas on that plate. You got mashed potatoes. You got meatloaf. You got so much going on with potatoes. You can't even see the meatloaf anymore. Like, and then that's what usually life feels like for a woman. And it's all piled in there and we can't find it, let alone find ourselves. And it really is about, again, giving space for figuring out who am I? What is my capacity? That's why I tell, again, you heard me say earlier, speaking, teaching, coaching. If it's not one of those things, oh, good luck. I don't have the capacity for it. And being okay with no without having an emotional breakdown or an emotional connection. Well, it's probably good I didn't have a son. I kind of joke about that because I probably wouldn't even understand the word no. My husband, we have a daughter, so he's the wimp. He can't understand no with her. But outside of like the fun things, just in life, not understanding the word no and not knowing how to use it to the place where it protects you is what's really doing women in. And again, from not even being able, you can't even find your purpose when, again, the meatloaf is covered with the mashed potato. Where's your purpose in there? It's too much going on.
This is good. Y'all in the comments, thank you. Seriously, y'all that are watching, follow, please let me just put up all of Victoria's follow information so y'all can be like, Victoria, I want to hire you. Please get in her comments, get in her DMs, Insta, Facebook. You can see how to follow her.
Brilliance deserves a shot. I'm here for that because I the way I esteem people, and it is the honest to God, like I think with people, because I think the way I esteem people is because the way I see God, and I see his creation as something magnificent, and there's no need for us to be broken down, beat down. When I'm in the presence of someone, I know there's greatness. Like, you might not remember. And look, trust me, there was a part of my life I didn't even see it. I was using it all day long and was the last person to see it in myself. So I can get that, but I see it. So I respect that. And we ain't gonna have nobody, you know. So anyway, you get with me, we get it right. We get you right.
Okay, so let's go here. I'm lost. I don't have the support system that I need. I've got mama or family or ex-partner, or I've got business, or I've got career drama. I've been stuck. I can't tell anybody I'm stuck. Like, I post up and I look cute, but I am stuck. I don't feel purpose. I feel upset. I feel bitter. I feel depressed. I feel sad. I feel abandoned. Fill it in, right? I have unhealthy habits. I do things that are self-destructive. I don't feel like purpose today, Victoria. How in the world do I take abuse, rape, molestation, job loss? How do I take all these things that I've been through, racial trauma, systemic issues? How do you tell me that I can carry on and go into my purpose when reality right now doesn't seem to be matching that?
That is a loaded question. And there's actually, believe it or not, as bad as that question sounds, there's a lot of beauty in that question, because to still ask still signifies hope. The fact that someone can still ask a question with all that. And I'll be the first one going through my own traumas. And it's funny, I work with my church for the last 10 years. I'm with a special ministry. We work with people that have gone through horrible traumas. So I've worked specifically with people who've gone through molestations, rape. One of my clients committed suicide. So I know the face of this thing. We're not here to make this seem like it's so pretty. You don't have any, there's not a dark side to the moon. There is. But as long as there is hope, and as long as there's, because I do believe that purpose can never be extinguished, ever. Not in the face of, you can set it, you know, it's interesting. It's like setting a forest fire. Most people don't realize pine cones are actually made for the pressure of heat. They actually don't release until devastation. So I believe that even in the midst of the worst traumas, there are pieces of you that if we can unpack the heaviness, we can pack the horrible stuff. And trust me, again, I came out of my own traumas. If that you can get with some counseling, some coaching. My clients always joke I'm part therapist, and part of that because of some of my training, but get with someone that's going to help you get through that heaviness. And you don't have to feel anything. I always say lean into the feeling. The problem is that we try to not feel and try to gloss it over. So I commend anyone that says, I'm not feeling it today. Because one thing I've learned about it is that feelings don't distinguish fact. They don't extinguish facts. You got the same woman get up, same dress size, and one day say, I feel extremely morbidly overweight. And she's not. Farthest thing from it, but she may feel it. So feelings don't delineate facts all the time. However, feelings are important to sift through so that people can really kind of move through that stuff and get down and get the healing they need so that they can get the light down to the darkest places. But I do believe that, believe it or not, in the worst of times, that's where oftentimes the greatest character, that's actually, believe it or not, where you can find your purpose. I know I did. So I think, if anything, when we look out even on the landscape of people, the Nelson Mandelas, the Maya Angelou, I mean, think about how she was molested. I think about Nelson Mandela is a saint, because you locked me up for 27 years. I might have to flip everything upside down. You know, like that is true. You know, I like to keep it real. But I thank God I'm a Christian. God would beat me up. So, but look, my first inclination would be like, look, give me 2 days. I'm gonna correct this situation real quick. But my point is that we can look on the landscape, and I think courage comes and encouragement comes from seeing those that have gone ahead and have done it. And then we're able to see that, okay, they can live out theirs, I can live out mine. And then I know that for my Christian beliefs, I believe in the redeeming qualities of just a relationship with Jesus Christ, that he can heal through any brokenness and that he can bring beauty from ashes. So I do understand that, and trust me, I sit with that. And I'm here to tell you that I sat with that in my personal life, and there was my lowest of lows. So if you can get any encouragement just at looking at me and being like, look, she pulled out. And then my job that's how I found my purpose, was to pull other people out. So you can get there. Again, it's just one step at a time. Don't push yourself. You might have some up and downs. Lean into it. It doesn't feel good. Say it. It sucks. Yell it out. Might be some choice words used. Look, I always tell my clients, I'm not here to judge, but we're going to get you free. So I hope that answers that. There is, again, with the right steps in place, you can get from a place of tragedy and trauma to a place of getting your footing again, and then walking up those ladders to really walking toward the success you desire. But it definitely happens in steps, and we don't want to gloss over that.
What you were saying is also taking responsibility for building a support system. So acknowledging what you need, acknowledging what you're feeling, acknowledging what you want, and then seeking help. So if that help is therapy, if that help is hiring someone like Victoria to really help you tap into yourself and tap into your brilliance, so you can go out here and do all of the things and the dreams, as we talked about at the beginning of the talk, where your purpose just sits on your heart. It's not even something you probably tell a lot of people. Probably think about it. You're like, that sounds crazy, but you're like, no, that's me. That's me, right? It's that little thing that's like always on you, and you're like, I should do this. Nope, you put it off. I should do this. And you know it. It's not even about the money. It's not what other people would think. It just sits there, right? So we are going to hop into You Are Your Brand. And I think sometimes when we say brand, especially in this time that we're in, that people only associate that with business. When I think of my own brand, like as Mia Mans, I love people. Like that's a core part of who I am on this people, to be able to impart some sense of goodness and just support. That has nothing to do with the titles that I have. That is just how I know that I'm staying true to myself. And if I'm ever, just to be very honest, as Victoria was saying about, if you don't feel that way, then I go somewhere and I quiet myself and I start to check my feelings. I start to check my thoughts. I start to check the experiences, the emotions, the things that people have brought up around me, because sometimes, y'all, there are other people who are bringing their stuff, whatever their stuff might be, and that's not your stuff. And you have to, as Victoria was saying, go, okay, is this my thing, or is this some boundary? And I need to understand, like, I can't take that on right now. And I think it's really being able to be honest with yourself. Like, no matter, as I said at the beginning of the talk, if people say amazingly good things about you, or people are saying terrible, nasty, mean, awful, your comments are filled with all types of craziness, because that's a reality in 2020. You just have to step back and be like, am I good? Am I not good? What are my values? What are the things that make me get up every day? Can you continue to define for people how they know their own brand? Like, if it doesn't go make you $1 billion tomorrow, this is how you can check in with yourself and knowing you're living on your purpose.
No, that's an exceptional question, because I believe we have a blueprint. When we live in hurricane-prone territory. So if a house shakes or something goes wrong, what do? They go back to the blueprint. They go back and make sure everything structurally is okay. Your foundation kind of is your brand, your idea, or what I like to call your personal brand, because there's your visual brand, the way you kind of show up with your, website, things like that. And I'll touch on that. What I'd like to say is that by nature, what you said prior to that was pretty amazing about the mindset part. I love the branding piece, but I am through and through a mindset coach. I love what happens here, because this is like a game of Tetris. Sometimes you have to move the pieces because there's blocks where you can't see. And for me, I love to be able to see what the block is and move that out the way so people can actually see through, and they can get clarity on who they are and what they really represent. So you got to move the blocks first. I live for that all day. Look, you bring the crying, you bring the upsetness, you bring I'm stuck. Come on, you are in the right place. I got you. But from a branding standpoint, that's really about, if you think about building a building, it's not about how beautiful the shutters are. It's not all of that. It really is about the foundation. So it's really about getting down to the foundation of you. What is your blueprint? And you said it so well when you talked about purpose, in the sense of it is on you. And what's so crazy is that life and the negativity and all that other stuff that happens, that sometimes we store subconsciously and we don't realize it's there. And it's every time we want to tap into that idea and purpose of who we are, subconsciously, we are batting it out the way because of things that people said, and you're not worth it, and it's stupid, don't try that, and you'll never make any money doing that, and you need a job, and all this other stuff that people planted in our brains. But when you're talking about the core essence of your brand and personal brand and your purpose, when you're trying to identify that from a blueprint standpoint, fundamentally is who you are, in a sense of what motivates you, what are your specific values, what talents do you have, what can you do. Talents are actually pretty cool because it's something you've never been taught. You just know how to do it. What are your instincts? People are like, well, what do instincts play? Instincts are tremendous. I always say, if you have a burning building on fire, you have different people in it, their instincts might be different. One might be to run, take people out. Other person might be, let's call for help. Somebody might want to engage the fire. Let's put it out. I think you said something along the lines of part of your instinctive drive is people, really fundamentally, that's your core, that's your brand message. So it's really about taking all those pieces together and then looking at your expertise, where you're really good at, looking at your experiences, and then bringing that to the table and saying, okay, I have these tools. What can I build with these tools? And the problem is that sometimes we only have two tools. Someone has like a popsicle stick and a wrench, and they're like, I can't build nothing. And it's like, well, you didn't go deep enough in unpacking yourself. There's so many different layers, and it's actually even more than I can kind of talk about here. And even when you unpack them, it's still about putting them together. How do you make the puzzle fit? But the point is that once you have the tools out, then you can decide what you want to build. And that becomes your personal brand, which is your image, your reputation. What are the impressions you want to make on people? And the interesting thing is, in the business world, is that you are in complete control of that. And we know that to be true in a sometimes in a false sense when you look at Instagram, because you can give anybody a perception of yourself. I love when they do like they'll take the toilet seat and try to pretend that that's the plane window, and if you film it from a certain angle, it looks just like someone's in the plane. Like, you can give a perception of anything on but the thing is, in business, authenticity is what counts. And your goal is to move people up the ladder from knowing you, liking you, to trusting you. You can't do that by being inauthentic. So really, when you're talking about personal branding and what impressions you want to make, it's really looking at who you are, understanding your identity, all those pieces that are too much to talk about here, really, and understanding what is the message that comes from that. And for you, what's so cool about you, I love it, your message is solidified. It's all about the people. My message is a little bit, it's all about the brilliance. Yeah, like I can tell, listen, oh, go ahead, please. You're going to say something.
I was having a conversation yesterday with some business owners, and the challenge of being yourself is enough. No matter what anyone said, judged, put on you, mislabeled you, inappropriately poured into you, classified you as, being yourself is enough. And that's really important. Whatever, exactly how Victoria said it, whatever that gift is, it's your gift. And it is the thing that makes you so special, but also so in service to others. And we all have it. You know how like people will say, like, people in movies have the it factor. I had a friend who was very clear about everyone has an it factor. And I think Victoria gave you, no matter what your tool belt is full of, the permission to see your it, to sit in it, to own it, to define your life by like, I got it. I might not have all of the pieces of the puzzle, as you were saying, but like, I'm good with me and my gift. And I'm going to spend time, just like you were saying, instead of tapping into things that are way outside of yourself, schedule a 30-minute date with yourself, write out, type out, sit down with someone like Victoria to tap into your gift, because it's not what's outside of you where your excellence lives. It is already inside of you. And as you heard Victoria affirm, it is just having people that can help you see and be really clear on that. And I think like just knowing you already have it, if you watch this entire talk all over again, because it's so good. And if you're just getting here, thank you. But you already got it. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's not, you can pick up books, but you got it. It's already in you, and it's up to you to see. And even if people around you don't see it, that's not their job to see it. Just honor your gift. You know what I mean? So I don't know where I was going with that, Victoria, but that's what I was feeling in the spirit right now.
No, I love that. And I love that. And I'll take it a step further. And I think that sometimes we think these gifts are minuscule. And then this is where like oh Lord, I almost got into that other version, the crunk version of Victoria will pop out real hard, is that I think we think it's minimal. Your gifts have a way of being magnified. That's why I'm all about helping you increase, especially from a business concept, helping women expand their impact and their income. Your gifts are valuable. And if you know how to leverage them properly, what you're capable of doing that may seem like it's so easy to you, and you don't know how to put all the pieces together of, it solves a major problem for people. And it's really about knowing how to strategize. That's the part I love. I love to take one woman and then maximize her, where she's able to look at 3 or 4 different ways to monetize that ability. And we're not talking about small scale. I always joke with my clients. I said, if I come back in 6 months and you're making the same amount of money, we got a problem. Because your value is always increasing as you grow as a person, as you develop, as you add to yourself. And I think that is a part that women tend to think. We think we have just this little tiny, let me show you what I have. It's so little and precious. No, you better let the jack of the box out. Like, turn that thing. Boom. It's like there's some energy and momentum in there. Like, and that's the part I love. I love when a woman goes from that timid to fierce. And it's not the kind of fierceness that has to be defined by how everyone else is. It's an inner fierceness. It's that inner fire that says, I used to not know what I was worth, but baby, like, I know. and then it just moving forward, because when you release that there, yes ma'am, where's my lighter at? Like, but and I say that now,
snap.
listen,
You're getting snaps from these comments between Zelania and Kim and Michelle and Bunny. Listen, there are snaps all on the internet. They're all like fiercely nodding their heads like, girl, preach, talk about it.
I mean, they know, and look, a lot of them, listen, I'm fangirling over them, but the point is that when a woman can see it for herself, there's no more. And it's funny, like I work with political candidates, I work with other people, and there's people I'll work with for a time period, and then they'll just like take off. And it's just like, when they started, it was like, I don't have anything, and I don't know what my contract. And I tell people all the time, I don't make diamonds now. Like, let's get that clear. That's God's job. I don't make diamonds. You're already there. I'll polish the heck out of a diamond. And I think when a woman sees her reflection in her own newly polished self, it's a game changer. And again, we want women ignited. And again, I work with men too, so men as well. So I love them too. Shout out to the men out there. But we want that ignition, because when you become kerosene and you ignite your own fire, you're going to set off an extreme reaction that's going to ignite someone else's fire. And I think that's really what life is all about.
Victoria, we have time for one more question before we're going to wrap this up. Super thank you to the David Pence Allstate team. Thank you, Henry Plumbing Company, for making these talks designed to empower people's lives, make them more successful, and just make them feel their best in this time that we are living in. I am so excited. Next week's show, Bunny Ware is going to talk about making media work for you, and that is going to be a media but before we get ready to wrap up for the afternoon, I have problems listening to my instincts, and I mess up when I don't go with them. So then it leaves me mad at myself, and I don't trust myself. Not listening to your gut. Well, listen to your gut. Is there for a reason. But Victoria, take on how can everyone that's watching tap into their instincts, please, and listen to them?
You know, that can be a slippery slope. I always say that instincts are great, and I love her question, and I can understand the struggle in not listening to them sometimes. I think instincts without context is a problem. Instincts happen because of a certain wiring. I think it's really important to know how you're wired as a person. That will help you better understand the instincts that kind of come up for you naturally, and why you have a tendency of leaning a certain way. And then in having that repetition, you'll start to see kind of a pattern. You're like, okay, I need to trust my voice more in this capacity. You know, sometimes gut instincts, we know some of those one and dones are like, uh-oh, I kind of messed up. You went with your gut and you're like, wait, took a detour. So I can understand the intrepidation that happens with that. I would say just lean into it more, but definitely work with someone that's going to better help you understand the scope of yourself as a person, understand your behavioral complex, how you're wired, how you think, where your strengths come from, because those instincts are kind of tied into those aspects. And then when they start bubbling up for you, you'll be able to attach them as context to something and say, okay, I know where this is coming from. This is right feature for me. I should do this. And then you'll feel better about it. I hope that makes sense.
So I think it's understanding everything that's leading into that feeling and untapping it from a place of my gut's talking. What do I need to hear from it? And am I answering it because of past experiences and fears? Or is this just my warning? And I do believe that that gut instinct is a God voice given to us that we have to choose to hone and to listen to. Y'all, please get off of this when you're off of this talk and follow VictoriaDBaylor on everything. I'm going to put up all the ways to follow her here. It's really easy peasy. At VictoriaDBaylor on Insta or Facebook, or at VictoriaDBaylor on Twitter. What I love about VictoriaDBaylor's Insta is every single day, for the most part, she is giving you a free tip. So when you're watching this and you've enjoyed hearing from her, she had a great question this week. Why are you hiding? Why aren't you showing people who you are and what you're doing and what you're making happen? And why aren't you telling your story? And I know as women, I don't want to brag. I'm going to be humble. listen, and I am one of those people where, if you know me, I'm like, I don't want it. Like, I'm very much like, I like to keep my life about other people. That's just, again, that's a part of who I am. But I do understand that, just like you guys are like, Mia talks, like, I've had a company for 5 years, like, but some people know it and some people don't. So some people are like, oh, what is this? And you're like, oh, okay. So I get it. Like, let me say this. I get it. And I'm a person that just likes to, I like my work. Like, I like it to be about the work, and it's not about like anything shiny. And I'm very blessed that God has given me a shiny life, right? Like, I'm so thankful. But I think sometimes too, especially when you are sitting in that shine of your life, and shine is just not, I don't want to just put it from a business place, but in your relationship with your children. Let's say things are good, they're really good. I also understand that that can be hard to give away, that you're like, I want to be mindful of how much good, because there's also a whole bunch of different energy that sometimes comes with that good. So I get it. But I say this, as you heard Victoria say, you're brilliant and you shine. Like, shine when it's good, shine when it's like, you can't help but shine, because that's what God puts you here to do. But reach out to Victoria, VictoriaDBaylor.com. Shout out to my super sponsors, y'all. David Pence, Allstate Insurance team, best of the coastal empire right here. Call them for all of your family insurance needs, 912-961-9617. Send the David Pence Allstate team a thank you for being a part of this show and bringing you guys this information. Super thank you to Best of Savannah, Henry Plumbing Company. When you're home right now, it needs repairs, you're trying to figure it out when it comes to all things plumbing, water leaks, and more, 912-352-9827. This has been a good show. I'm going to try to hit these comments, y'all. Everyone from Glenn, love it. Thank you, Stephanie. Love this. Marjorie Young, yes. Jasmine, thank you, Amy. Thank you guys for just knowing that you are so purposed and you're so valuable, and hold on to that, no matter what anyone, anything, no matter your size, comments that come at you, what your financial statement says right now, no matter what your relationship status is, don't get caught up and forget how amazing and awesome you are. That's why we are doing this show today. So Victoria, you want to say bye to everybody and we'll get ready to sign off? I'll let you close it out, girlfriend. Go ahead.
Sure. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for your time and the energy. I couldn't see all the comments, but I appreciate it. I'm going to go back and check them out. I love everyone on the line. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mia, for the opportunity. I appreciate it. It's all about taking bold action. So I would say don't hesitate from that. I have a coaching program. So if someone's struggling with taking bold action, please talk to me about that. It's all about giving you that little bit of a kick. So come see me about that. But thank you so much, Mia. I appreciate it.
You are so loved. I am so blessed to call you a friend, a sister, and a trusted person to be able to share with all of our friends. So y'all, we love you. Mwah, 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 mwah. All the past episodes, anything you ever missed, you want to be a part of the show, hit me up, www.miatalks.com. I love y'all. You can replay this from the beginning, catch old episodes, www.talks.com. or on YouTube. Until next week, we'll be back with Bunny Ware and all things media. Bye.